YouTube, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Truth and this is CrapsEnergy. So I know it's been a minute since you guys have seen me or since I've checked in, and trust me, there's been a lot going on and you don't want to hear anything about it. You don't even want to know. The tables have been bad for the most part, pretty much everywhere that I have played. And honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that now, because all of these casinos are offering the all tall and small or the little boom big bonus, people are not really playing dice for the excitement of the roll. They are playing dice pretty much just counting down until that bonus hits. And in my personal opinion, I think that really has affected the flow of the game and just, the dice rolling naturally, because people are wanting numbers to, that are wanting to roll numbers. I've been in casinos and I've played at tables where, for the most part, everybody at the table is rooting for that all bonus. And quite honestly, it's a bonus, right? It's a payout in addition to your the regular game. Like if the dice is just rolling and you're throwing numbers and people are making money, then that all bonus will hit naturally, as long as somebody is able to hold on to the dice to roll all of the required numbers. So many people are focused on that I have seen great rolls end because the shooter is maybe one number away from hitting one side or two numbers from getting the all, and the excitement of getting that close just causes just so much chaos and just for things to just go left really quick. So with that being said, I have decided to put together 10 things that we see when we're playing the game of craps that brings about a 7. These are things that we see happening all the time when we're at the table, and we believe as players that these things actually affect the outcome of the game. And so I'm going to give you these 10 things and I'm going to talk about them each. But I say that because if you are new at the game of craps and you go to a crap table, you may not know about these unspoken rules. So I'm going to run them down to you really, really quickly. So the next time you're at the casino, you're paying attention, and hopefully you're not one of the people to do one of these things. All right, so let's go. All right. One of the, I think, more common things that we see at the table that brings about a 7 is the stick change. And the stick change is, for those of you guys who are familiar with the craps table, you know what I'm talking about. But for those of you who are not regular players and may not know a lot about the game is controlled by the stick person. This is the person you see standing at the middle of the table with a wooden stick, and they are the ones who are sliding the dice out to the shooter. Well, most casinos, if not every casino that I'm aware of, they will change the stick every 20 seconds. And there's actually a reason for that. Yes, people are working and they want to be able to provide regular breaks, but the casinos are always trying to wedge the game to their favor. And so a regular stick change will disrupt the flow of the dice. If a person is really shooting the dice and they're on a great roll, what better way to disrupt that roll than to change the stick? Stick person has to drop the stick. They step out, another one steps in, and while they're doing that, the dice is on hold. And I have seen this happen a lot. As a matter of fact, it is so common that a lot of regular players will turn their bets off. They have got accustomed to the fact that when a stick changes, it's more likely that a 7 will follow than for that shooter to keep shooting. And so a lot of players will turn their bets off. Now, that's not to say that this happens all of the time, because it does not happen all of the time. And sometimes you have shooters where, stick changes doesn't bother them, and other things that I may discuss in this video doesn't bother them, and they're able to keep shooting and to keep their regular flow of the game. And so, and so the dice is rolling and people continue to make money. But yes, and unfortunately, a stick change will bring a 7 and cause the dice to go out. And so if you see this, one way to, I guess, kind of wedge your bets against the casino is to just turn them off. Turn them off. If the dice 7's out, you've saved your money. If the dice doesn't 7 out, I think I said 7 out. If the dice doesn't 7 out, then there's always the opportunity to turn your bets back on and to continue making money after that. Number 2, I know that when you walk into a casino, you're excited about playing, you've been looking forward to playing all day. You want to go in, you got this feeling you're going to win, so you walk into a casino, you walk up to a craps table, you reach into your pocket and you throw out your money on the table. Well, I'm not exactly sure why you decided to do that, because if the dice is in play and a player is shooting the dice, doing that will, 1, it'll slow down the game. 2, it will create something that none of us could really explain, right? Because we have all of these conspiracy theories of how the casino actually is controlling the dice and why these things that I'm talking about affects the dice in such a way that it does. Some players believe that the table knows when money is on the table. The table knows at all times, at every moment, how much money is actually on the table, how much, chips are in play, how much money is in play, how much the casino stands to win or stands to lose. And so when that money is thrown on the table, it upsets the balance of things, if you will. And the conspiracy is that at that point, the table thinks that it's a come out roll, right? Because people typically will throw their money in on the come out before there is a point. And so, and when do 7s typically come? They come on a come out, or they come to end a roll. And so by throwing your money on the table, it's almost like it causes a reset of the roll. And so players don't like for, other players to walk up and throw their money on the roll, especially in the middle of the roll, and especially if there is a good roll. And I'm talking about, let's say that this is just an example of when to, well, let me just tell you, the best time to throw your money in is at the beginning of a new shooter roll. When you have someone who is just getting the dice and they're just starting their roll, that is the best time to throw your money in. Otherwise, what you should do as a player is you may miss the whole roll and you may just have to wait, because if you throw it in the middle of the roll, there's a good chance it's going to bring about a 7. Even if the shooter hits his point and it's a come out roll, throwing your money in on a table can still cause a reset. And players are going to be very, very upset, especially if they are close to hitting all the numbers on the dice, which is called the all bonus. And because doing so could cause a reset. And if, let's say, a shooter is one number away from hitting the all, and we're talking about a common number like a 5 or a 6 or an 8 or a 9 or something like that, you throw your money in on the roll and a 7 comes, well, you've just cost people a lot of money, typically anywhere from $1,000 to, I don't know, $5,000. And for those that are playing really big, like 100 across, I mean, we're talking about like almost $30,000 that you've cost someone. So I would say that, unless you walk up to the table and the dice is on a really good roll and you actually want to make a bet, please wait. Don't throw your money in on the table in the middle of a roll. Just wait. If you're not going to make a bet, you're not losing anything. Like, just wait. All right, number 3. Another thing that will cause a 7 on the table is a dispute. And I mean, disputes, they are so common. It happens all the time. Anywhere from, a dealer not making your bet. Let's say you threw out a nickel and you wanted a crap check, and they didn't, your nickel got lost somewhere. They didn't do it. They didn't set it up, and a crap check rolled. Now, you're expecting a payout, but your nickel is missing. And so now you're arguing with them. I threw my nickel out. Where's my nickel? It was, somebody locked it up or somebody. Okay, that's going to hold the table up. Dispute, it's going to cause a 7. Let's say that you had a 6 and 8 for 30 each. And on the last roll, you pressed it up, but the dealer pressed up somebody else's bet or pressed up another one of your bets that was on another number. And when that number came, the payout is wrong. Now you're arguing with them. No, you were supposed to press up the 8, not the 6, and blah, 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 blah. Well, that's going to hold the dice up, and more than likely it's going to bring a 7. Sometimes the dealer will mix up bets between players, and they may hand someone your payout when they actually didn't have a bet. And just trying to figure all of that out is going to more than likely bring a 7. Disputes. Any kind of disputes on the amount of bets, disputes on whether or not you had a bet, even disputes between players will more than likely bring a 7. And so I would say in that case, it's very important to make sure that you watch your bets, right? Because just because you toss out a number, say, give me a hard 8, doesn't mean that the dealer heard you and doesn't mean that it was set up correctly. So not only do you have to pay attention to what you're betting, but you have to watch and make sure that they collect your money, confirm your bet, and actually set it up properly. Otherwise, you run the risk of creating this dispute, which will disrupt the whole flow of the game and the table and could possibly bring out a 7. All right, number 4. I don't care how good you are a shooter. I don't care how well controlled the dice are when you have them. Every shooter at some point or another, at some point in the game or another, is going to throw the dice and it's going to hit a chip. Whether it's intentional or unintentional, you could be shooting in your favorite spot all the time, but sometimes it's going to be a little hard. Sometimes it may be a little soft, may not reach the back wall. Those dice can roll back into a chip. You know, could hit a chip, bounce off of the wall and hit a chip. We never know. But we see it time and time and time again where when the dice hits the chips, or if a chip is in the way and it's not able to complete its roll, 9 times out of 10, it's a 7. Can it be avoidable? I mean, you would have to be an excellent control shooter to actually avoid hitting chips. But can you minimize it? I'm sure that there's probably a way to minimize it by just staying focused and, trying to maintain the same shot. I think that it's unavoidable because we can't control how many people are at the table and where they place their money. Sometimes players are a bit considerate where they see you shooting in a corner or shooting on a certain spot on the table. If their money is stacked there or in the way, they may try to move it. And sometimes you can ask them to move it and they will. But just because they may move it does not prevent the dice from hitting the chips and landing on a 7. I know that I was at the table a couple weeks ago and there was this guy, he was shooting in a specific spot. And it was actually where my money was. And he didn't have to ask me to move it. I was just being courteous and I moved it out of his way. But for whatever reason, he seemed to shoot at my money. Like when I moved it, he shot at it even after I moved it. And the dice eventually returned to 7 because it hit my chip. Some shooters will tell you just leave it. I'll do my best to try to shoot around it. But again, I mean, this isn't always avoidable and it will happen. We can take some precautions by maybe not stacking up, money in front of us, shooters that are shooting where we're betting. Or we can, be considerate by moving our money out of the way so that the shooter has a clear path down the table into the back wall. That's the most advice I can give you for that. But you can expect it. The dice will hit the chips and in most cases will return a 7. All right. This one is a doozy. So I know regular players have seen this, like just time after time after time. The shooter is shooting the dice. He's on a roll. He's doing good. And all of a sudden the drink girl walks by and she's asking anybody, drinks anyone, water, anybody needs anything. She doesn't care that the shooter is shooting the dice. She's going to stop and ask him. She's going to stop and ask almost everybody that she passes if they're good or if they want to drink. The shooter, if he doesn't know any better, and especially if he's there to have a good time, he's going to stop his shot and he's going to order himself a drink. He may even just want a bottle of water, and so he's going to stop his shot, turn around, and ask for a bottle of water. He may not even drink that water right after getting that water, but the fact that he stopped this shot to do so almost always brings a 7. So if you are the shooter and you are thirsty, please order your drinks before you get the dice. Or like I have done in, on occasion, if I'm there with someone, I would tell that person that, hey, when the waitress comes, can you grab me a water? Or if I've already ordered and I get the dice before she returns, I'll hand my friend $2, 2 white chips, and I'll say, hey, can you grab my drink when the waitress gets back? Here's $2 for her tip. So that I am not interrupted by, handling that transaction with the waiter, with the waitress, or the drink girl, or the drink guy. It could be a drink guy. Most of the time it's the drink girl though, but with the drink lady. It almost always returns a 7. And I think the reason why is because it disrupts the shooter. Like, it takes the shooter out of their flow. They are in the rhythm of the game, but when you stop, then that rhythm is disrupted, and it does almost always bring a 7. So if you're the shooter, you're going to have to deal with that thirst after you're done shooting. Or do it before. Or like I said, if you got a friend there that can help you, handle that transaction while you continue to stay in your rhythm, then that's the best thing to do. Now, if you are a player who's witnessing a shooter have this transaction, and you want to wedge your bets against the 7, then the best thing you can do is just turn off your bets until you're sure that he's back in his rhythm and the dice is back rolling. That would be my advice to you. All right, so where are we? We're at number 6. Someone moving into the spot by the shooter. Now, I don't know, and I've got my eyes closed because I can just see it in my brain. I can just see it, and I hate it. This is probably one of the things that I hate most about shooting dice, is that you have so many people who they don't know the culture of the game. They don't know the rules and the considerations that must be given in the game. There has been so many times where I'm shooting the dice, I'm in rhythm, and when I started shooting, maybe the table wasn't full, or maybe I was in a spot where maybe there was a don't player playing, and I'm shooting so good that I killed him and he lost all of his money. Not killed literally, but like to the point where he has no more money to play, and so he left the table. Well, there's a spot empty. There is a spot empty right next to me, and I'm shooting the dice, and out of nowhere someone walks up to the table and they want to play. Well, the first thing on their mind is not to find out who's shooting and that they could provide that courtesy and consideration. Their first thought is, hey, well, there's an open spot. I'll just go and play there. Now, you may have some shooters at the table who's watching your back. They're looking out for these kinds of things, and so they're going to tell that person when they walk up to the table that you're shooting the dice. Now, players don't care that you're shooting the dice. They want the dice to go out. People who are not familiar with the game or who don't play that often is not going to care that you're shooting the dice, and they may just come in. They may be one of the ones that throw money in on the table. You don't know. Someone that might be pressed for time, that they just kind of ran in, try to get in a couple bets, make a quick few dollars or whatever. They may not care, but it is a form of disrespect to any shooter for someone to come in right next to them in the middle of their shot. It is disruptive and it throws off the flow of the game. One, because I mean, it may cause the shooter to have to readjust, right? So the shooter doesn't have as much space as they had before the person came in. Maybe the person is in front of them, and so they don't have a clear view to where they're shooting. Now they have to try to, look past you, or to, who knows. There are a ton of reasons why this is never a good idea. And time after time after time after time after time, we can expect a 7 in most cases. Not all cases, but a lot of cases. It happens. We see it. And what I'm asking you guys to do is to just please be aware that the whole goal of playing craps is to roll numbers. You've got to keep the dice. The dice has to be rolling and stay in play in order for us to come out winners. If the dice is constantly going out and constantly turning over 7s, we can't win. And the casino wins. I mean, they're aware of all these things, but they also know that we're people and we're dealing with human nature. I mean, we can hardly control ourselves, let alone trying to control the dice. They know that these things are against us, and by it being against us, they win. It's what they want. But I'm just saying, as a player, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to other players at the table to respect. And to give courtesy. All right. Number 7. So number 7 is basically about, things that hold up the dice. And I've already mentioned quite a few things that will disrupt and hold up the dice. Craps is an energy game. It's a flow game. The dice has to be in rhythm. It has to keep moving in order for the dice to roll numbers and for us to make money. There are a ton of things that can hold the drink. The drink girl holds up the dice. The stick change holds up the dice. Disputes holds up the dice. Someone throwing in money holds up the dice. But let's talk about the shooter holding up their own dice. How dare you? What? Why would you even do that? I have seen so many times where the shooter, the stick person, will slide the dice out to the shooter. And instead of picking up the dice, staying in rhythm, and shooting the dice, the shooter will pick up the dice, have this thought, you know what, I didn't make a bet, I'm feeling this, let me make a bet. So they will sit the dice down and make a bet. And depending on how long they take to make that bet, the stick person will bring those dice back to the center. And I have never seen a good outcome when that happens. I think when the dice leaves the center, the dice needs to stay out of the center. That means that the dice is in play, and so the table is expecting the outcome. When the dice goes back to the center, in my opinion, it's like a reset. So just real briefly, going back to my statement I made about, I believe the table knows what's happening. I believe the table knows how many chips it's on. I believe the table knows, how much people are wedging. I know that you really want to make that bet. I know that you just have this feeling that 12 is going to come, or those aces are going to come, and you want to get you a $5 aces, $5 12, so you can make $150. But trust me, if you don't make that bet before that dice comes out to you and you send those dice back, or you take a few minutes to make that bet and those dice are just sitting there, more likely than not, it's going to bring a 7. I'm just saying. I've seen it. You've probably seen it too. Be conscious of that. You may have to say, you know what, I didn't get it out in time. It's okay. If it comes, I'll just make my money on the 6 and 8 or something like that and just keep the dice moving. Don't let the dice sit. Don't disrupt your shot to do a bet, to get your drink, to talk to your friend, to answer your cell phone. Don't do it. You are setting yourself up, and we are all going to lose. All right. Well, number 8, late bets by you, the shooter, or by anybody playing. And I'm talking about them late kind of bets where, people got their hands out and the dice is flying. You don't want to do that, because you got your comeback, but you forgot to make your crap check. Don't you put your hands out there. Don't you make that bet. You're just going to have to take a chance at losing that bet, because by you making that late bet, putting your hands out there, you are placing us all at risk. So do not do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Number 9, the shooter. Now all of us can shoot dice. And I know we want to believe that we can, but not all of us can. And some of us we play like we don't care. And you pick up those dice and you chuck them across the table and they go flying everywhere. They hitting chips, they hitting money, they hitting dealers, they going off the table and hitting people walking by. Please, shooter, please, please, please. Have a little bit of control and a little bit of sense about yourself and your shot, and you know what I mean? Don't get on the table being crazy. Please don't, because that is a sure way to bring about 7. And I think that for people who play the don'ts, I think that they shoot the dice crazy because they know that is almost always a sure way to bring about a 7. So, but if you want to go in there, you want to hit your point, you want to make some money for yourself, you got to be mindful of how you're shooting that dice. Don't go in there doing nothing crazy. Please don't, because you will have people talking about you. You will have people talking about you. You will have people rolling their eyes at you. You will have people cursing you out under their breath. I promise you, because it's real money out there. People are coming in there sometimes with their last and they're trying to catch a roll, or they're trying to, I don't know, they're trying to catch a hit, and you just doing something crazy like that, and dice go out and people lose their last. Oh yeah, you are being cursed out under their breath. And some of them ain't shy. They're cursing you out where you can hear. But I'm just saying, just be mindful. You know what I mean? Just be mindful. All right, and finally, number 10. All right, changing the dice. Don't do it. Please don't do it. Changing the dice in the middle of a roll will surely bring about a 7. We've seen this so many times. You're on a good roll. The dice is rolling good. Why would you change the dice? That is the most selfish thing that you could do in the game of craps. 2, it makes no sense. There's no explainable, accepted reason for changing the dice. There's only 2 instances where I would support changing the dice. The first would be if the dice goes off the table, and let's say it goes somewhere, or they can't find it, or it takes several of the dealers to look for it and it's going to take a minute to get it back. Okay, don't hold up the game waiting for those same dice. One, because the longer you wait before putting those dice back into play, the bigger chance you have of rolling a 7. So get some new dice and keep the game going. The other acceptable reason for changing the dice out would be if the stick person sends you the dice on 7 and it just, somehow flips on 7. If they send it to you on 7, or while they're sending it to you, it flips on 7, she's going to take those dice back to the middle. Now remember what I said about sending the dice out and then taking the dice back to the middle. It's like a reset. It's almost automatic that the dice is going to bring a 7. So she sends the dice out. You know what? Give me some new dice. Yet that too is like a reset, because it's like a come out roll. You got all the dice, and the table may think that it's the beginning of a new roll or something, and so it wants to throw a 7. But I feel like you have a better chance of not rolling a 7 when you get new dice than to try to avoid the 7 that's already on the dice. It's like the dice knows. The dice knows that it was a 7. A lot of times it comes back a 7. We don't want that. Change the dice out. But otherwise, if you're shooting good and you're on a good roll and you're in a great rhythm, don't change the dice out. It's, if it's a situation where you've been shooting for a really long time and you're getting tired, okay, well, instead of changing the dice out to try to hit your point, pass the dice and let somebody else hit the point. Somebody that's been, waiting and they're all rested up, give them the dice. They'll hit your point and they'll keep rolling. They'll keep shooting. So, all right. So that brings me to the end of this video. I've gone through a lot of information, and honestly, I am tired of talking, and I am tired of thinking about it, because when I close my eyes, I can just see all the stuff happening at the table, and we don't like it. So players, please, 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 by any means necessary, please be conscious of these things. Be courteous and respectful to yourself and to the other players and to the game itself. And let's not do these things. See you on the next video. Peace.